We've put all of our videos from our deck to garden transformation into one video for you to watch so you can see the whole thing at once and see the whole project from start to finish. From a sagging, unusable deck to demo day to installing new decking to a raised bed bursting with veggies. We're so excited about our new space and we can't wait to share the entire video with you.
And be sure to stick around until the end because we're going to be harvesting from these Smart Pots raised beds, and we're also going to reveal the name of our new garden area space.
When we are starting a brand new garden project, we've already begun removing our old deck behind us, and we're going to be installing 2 new Smart Pot fabric raised beds for additional growing space. Woohoo! Can't wait for that, along with some other things as well, which we'll be sharing with you in upcoming videos.
Now, have you ever done a project where at the end you're like, oh, I wish I'd have done this, or oh, I wish I would have done that, or even the unfortunate, it's too late, you can't do that now? Well, we have too, so you're not alone there. But we've had some really big projects around here lately in the garden, and we've gotten a lot more confident and experienced in running these things. Beginning with this video and throughout this project, we are going to share with you our steps and our thought processes, how we get through each phase of the project. This way, you will be able to run a project of your own, no matter how big or how small, and end up with the final product that you wanted to get. Sound good? All right. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is come up with a job scope. A job scope is a simple summary of what it is you would like to do here. I would like to take XYZ and remove it and install ABC. In order to do that, you go to the job site and you walk the job. So here we are, we're walking the job, we're looking. And Kim, what is it that you would like to see done here?
Well, the biggest problem with this deck is that the planks are sagging with the weight of all the soil that we had on top of it, and we can't repair it because the wood underneath is rotting. So first thing is, old deck has got to go.
Well, very good. The next thing that you do is you just look over the workspace and you see if there's any restrictions or any hazards or anything where you might need additional help. For example, I notice here that we have electricity in the back. So that would need to be safe off, disconnected before we start rebuilding. So I'll save that piece of wood for last. Is there anything you would like to do different here that wasn't here before? Or do you want this to be exactly like the other side of the garden?
I actually want to do something different because that's what keeps things fun. So I definitely want to put some additional garden space in here, a couple new raised beds. You know, I kind of have a dream for maybe some type of a potting area down here, a potting bench of some kind. So this might be a really good spot for that because the corner gets nice and shaded. So that'd be a nice, you know, relaxing spot to be able to do some garden work down here. Maybe even a little extra storage.
And I'm asking her this question because I want to know, what's our parameters? What about this portion here, the blackberries? Can those be relocated, or do those have to absolutely stay there?
Well, I am not in love with the spot where these blackberries are. Honestly, you guys, you know, I transplanted them a couple of times, but they're just not getting enough sun there. So don't really think it's a great spot for them. So I am perfectly okay with removing those, putting them somewhere else in the garden, utilizing this space somehow for this project too.
You bring up a really good point too, and that is, as gardeners, right? Where are the sunny spots? Where are the not so sunny spots? And that's a factor here. Okay.
It definitely is, and it's all about trial and error. I learned from that, and we'll just try them again somewhere else.
I have a dream of some type of cool light structure.
Ooh.
I don't know, like a light post or something that just kind of sticks up from the ground. It can be electrical, it can be solar too. That's something I'd like to keep in mind if doable.
And that's a good one for you, Jerry, because Jerry really is the light guy. He enjoys adjusting and creating special atmospheres and ambiance with light. So that would be a great addition to the space here too.
And Kim, what needs to happen here with the surface once we remove the deck?
Well, we definitely have to level this space to make a good foundation for our raised bed. We really need to replace it with some type of foundation that's sturdy, but that sits directly on the ground so we don't have the sagging issue with the weight of the soil like we had before.
In summary, our job scope is to remove the existing deck and replace it with the raised beds, and possibly throughout that process examine what we could do with additional space and maybe some creative lighting.
One of my favorite parts of any of our garden projects is the demo. We've already started it by clearing the space, removing the composite planks that were there before. Now it's time to remove all the rotted wood underneath so we can level the soil. You can see exactly why we need to remove these planks. Look how rotted this wood is. It's literally just falling apart and breaking in pieces. Lots of rotted wood. can see how the wood was sagging so much, it actually smashed down this drain pipe. Here we thought this whole time the drain pipe was working. I don't think so. Way easier than I thought.
I'm pretty sure this box is still hot. Yes, it is. We have power there. I'll also use an outlet tester. We can just see, yeah, this is still hot. So we'll go turn it off at the switch box on the side of the house.
So while Jerry is hooking the electrical back up, I'm going to start digging out the footers. There's one in each corner and they're dug in pretty deep. So we definitely need to get all 4 of them out before we can add soil and level the area. This actually used to be Jerry's dad's, so it's kind of sentimental to use it here on this project.
Yeah, I actually think this is reusable. I'm going to hang on to this. Maybe we'll use it at this project, maybe somewhere else, but this is still in good shape. We've been able to repurpose those baseboards.
Now, some of you might not know that 12 years ago, before we even started our YouTube channel, we were on a backyard makeover show called Extra Yardage. And this deck back here was actually one of the things we put in for the show. And the whole purpose of it was so our family could play music together for an al fresco amphitheater. Like is right behind us here, that's the amphitheater. These were actually the stages. So we used it for music, and then it ultimately got used for gardening, which all the water leaked from the gardening containers and ultimately rotted the supports under the deck. So it is kind of sad, like Jerry mentioned, but it's fun to have a change too.
It's such great memories of these decks going back to the Extra Yardage show, and we had a lot of family events down here on these stages, so it's kind of sad to be taking them down.
Tons of good leaves and pine needles that flew off during the windstorm that I'm going to put in the compost pile. Hit the jackpot here. Removing the debris, leveling it out before we add soil to prepare the surface for what we're going to lay down on top of this dirt.
Here we go, last piece. Heads up.
Good job, Jerry. Ooh, Mac, watch out.
Yeah, I had to deal with some electrical, which I'm not very skilled at, and I didn't get electrocuted, so I think I did it right.
You did it.
Here it is, the last piece.
All right, it's a good feeling.
So here's what we did today by way of review. One, we learned that you walk the job first to check out, to see exactly what you're dealing with. You also have a chance to talk a little bit about what you're dreaming about, if you could do something really big or not. The next thing that we did was we began our demo and removal process, and we got most of it, 98% of it done here.
Yeah, it feels good.
All we have left is the footings. I did some electrical, which was really scary for me,
Yeah.
but I did it, and I'm okay.
But one thing I wanted to mention too is you always have to manage your expectations. Didn't get quite as much done as we'd hoped for. That's okay. We actually got a lot done. And remember, things always take twice as long as you think. So manage your expectations on that one so you're not disappointed.
All right, well, we're looking forward to our next phase, our next steps, which we'll also make a video. We'll see you then, right?
See you on the next video.
Hi,
Hi
everyone.
everyone. We're back down here at the lower deck project. We really need to finish up phase 1, demo and removal. We've got 4 heavy duty footers to dig out of the ground.
And before I go on to phase 2, I want to tell you thank you for those of you that have commented about how our first video helped you out, and also some of the stories that you had to share about your project experiences. And it's kind of fun because I think we're all feeling the same things and having the same experiences. Phase 2 is the groundwork, the foundation for the workspace. We're going to level it out, get it nice and smooth before we put anything else on top of it. This is going to be a good day.
Let's get to it.
Planter auger is the way to go whenever you need to loosen up soil or make a hole to plant a tree in or a bush, that type of thing. Just loosens up the soil. It's fantastic. It works in a regular drill bit with a regular chuck right in here. You just let the drill do the work. I've never done and moved that dirt that quickly on my own. See how it's doing.
Nice.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, that came out so quick.
This is amazing. They have them deeper, they have a shorter one. Fabulous. That was amazing.
Saved us a ton of
You're gonna do
backbreaking
the
work.
next one.
Okay, cool.
Don't get up. I got you. What do you think?
Oh man, it's a piece of cake. Saves us hours of backbreaking labor.
You gotta let it do the work and not try and hold it and, manage it. It will hurt you if you do that. So you really gotta be careful. They have a great tutorial on how to use this on the website.
I'm not pushing it all, I'm just like dipping.
That's right. It does the work. Kind of like Mac is right now.
Okay, this one was a lot harder to get out because we had tons of roots in here, but I think we got it loosened up good enough. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's coming out.
Nice job.
Nice. Oh, cool. I'm proud of myself. Gun show.
Yep. One more.
Just to fill you in a little bit on our vision for this area, I'm really excited to put a couple new Smart Pot urban raised beds behind me here and grow more of our own food. And with all the tariffs going into effect, you might want to consider growing some of your own groceries too. The prices are just going to go sky high. And we do have our own seed shop, in case you don't know. We've got 30 seed collections, Smart Pots containers, books, and we are having a sale right now, 30% off with the code DIRTY30. Hey, how fun, huh? And that's going to run for a couple more weeks. So we want to give you guys all the resources you need to get started at some good prices. Jerry, it's on the 4th footer.
All right, last footer.
Power planter was a lifesaver.
Total lifesaver. And the knee pad, to the kneeling pad.
Oh yeah.
Don't be ashamed. Get those kneeling pads.
Yeah. So in here we have soil that we are going to use to help level out the area so we can prepare it for the final surface, but it's really heavy soil. That looks heavy. We're actually going to go ahead and remove this wall here because we're going to go all the way across with our final surface that we're going to lay and maybe put a raised bed. So this has been here for a long time. It's part of the backyard remodel.
The reason why I wanted to remove that is because it closes the space visually by angling in. So what our thought was, we remove this. Now we're into a part we don't know exactly what we're going to do here, but this will now be a straight line to an extent, and it will make the space look a little bit larger. We can repurpose these.
Since our final surface is going to extend all the way over here, I'm going to rake up all this mulch and leaves and definitely going to repurpose that too. So we're reusing every single part that we possibly can from this project. There's actually some nice soil under there. We finished phase 1, the demo and removal, yesterday. We're back again today to start phase 2, which is where we're going to be working on the surface here of our deck, and it's really important that we get it level. Now right now it's sloping up to the back, so we're going to kind of smooth it out and see what holes we need to fill in, because we're going to have raised beds and some other things right there, and we want it to be as level as possible.
All right, let's go. Well, it's hard to tell probably on camera because of the sun, etc., but right here is the lowest point, the lowest area of this workspace. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw in some fill dirt there first, smooth it out, and then bring everything to a matching level just by grading things out. That'll be probably our simplest resolution here.
Okay, you know how sometimes you uncover Pandora's box? This tree root has grown completely over this drip hose, putting a big kink in it. And I've always wondered why I'm having water pressure problems in the chill zone. This is exactly where this pipe leads, is right into the chill zone. So this has got to be removed, and probably this entire line moved.
Well, we are just learning so much and discovering so many things that have happened not visible to the eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We found so many things like this.
A lot under the surface. So I got to cut this root here.
Yep.
Oh man, I might need to get a bigger pruner. Oh, there we go.
Nice job.
Whew. Okay, we're gonna have to move this line, but for now we're just gonna temporarily,
Put it above surface.
kind of clip it back here with a landscape staple to get it out of the way.
It should do it. Attaboy, Mackie.
We've got a pretty good amount of fill dirt here, and we're trying to level it out. So we're doing it the scientific way. We're stepping on it. Actually, normally you would probably rent like a roller or something like that, but we're trying to do this project as budget friendly as possible. Got our area leveled out using our high-tech method of stepping on the soil, and now we're gonna lay down some weed barrier and some edging before we do the final surface. I really love how we're repurposing whatever we have for this project. We thought we ran out of weed barrier, did not want to run to the hardware store or spend the money on it. So look what I found in my storage shed. Perfect. The landscape fabric down, it's exciting now because it's really starting to take shape. So what we're going to do now is lay down the edging on the front to really just kind of frame out the area and hold down the landscape fabric.
Well, this is exciting because it means we're closer to the finished product.
Yeah, the leveling takes a lot of time. We've now completed phase 1, the demo and removal, and just finished phase 2, which is prepping the surface, laying down the weed barrier, installing edging. And the cool part about it is we already had all these supplies on hand, haven't spent a dime yet on supplies, and we're keeping it well within budget. Plus, we're going to repurpose a lot of the materials that we removed.
And I've also picked up a lot of things that I can use elsewhere too, those footers. I got a lot of stuff out of this, so that's exciting. What's also exciting about this point now is that I can start to visualize the things that we talked about in our very first episode about maybe a lamp, you know, something kind of creative like that. So this bordering of the edging really has allowed me to start visualizing things.
Yeah, that's really fun. I'm getting excited about a new raised bed area right here, possibly even a potting bench over here underneath the shade of the magnolia tree. So we're really getting excited about how the space is shaping up.
Something I haven't mentioned yet is that I actually think we have enough wood for me to make the potting bench.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. We'll see.
Jerry's got really good construction skills now after building a deck. So all we have left now is phase 3, which is going to be the installation.
Right.
And we're going to save that for the next video.
Yes, stick around.
Hi everyone. We're back at it today with our old deck remodel project, and today is install day. So really excited about that. However, we figured out some mistakes that we made with our demo and our surface leveling that we're back to fix today. Isn't that the way it always works with backyard projects? So there's definitely some spots that need leveling out. Jerry's going to be working on that, and we're going to be measuring out our final area for our install.
What I'm doing here is I'm just feeling for high spots and just going to try and grade them out smoothly, because if you start digging a hole, you're going to just create a bigger hole down at the other end of the line, so to speak. So we're just gradually grading them out a little bit here and moving the dirt out of the way.
Sometimes it's nice to have a couple of days in between work days so that you can kind of scope the project out, think about it, and figure out where you made mistakes. So definitely here is one of them. Lots of little bumps here in the surface, so I'm also going to be using the sledgehammer to kind of flatten things out. And perhaps that will help. And then also just check things out here with my hand and lay down some stakes so Jerry can go along and peel back the landscape fabric and kind of dig it out just a little bit more. Not too much, because we don't want to open Pandora's box. Starting from that end, I'm going to start from the other side, checking for bumps. It's a little bit high here, and then we'll just work our way towards the middle. Here's the big reveal, what we're laying down on the surface of our deck area. We chose this beautiful interlocking tile. And one reason why we did this is because number one, it matches the color of our deck up above. Number two, it fits within our budget. It's quick and easy to install. And it's a lot lighter than the decking in the chill zone area, which we installed a couple of years ago, which has also held up pretty well to the elements. So we're really excited about it. And Jerry's actually doing a little test install area in one of the corners, just so we can see how it looks and get a feel for how level our surface is or is not.
So what I'm doing over here is I'm just setting up a mock-up area just to see how these tiles are going to react in our situation. This is maybe not going to be their final destination, so to speak, but so far it's going pretty well. I had to smooth out a couple of areas. I wanted to see how the tiles were going to react to that as well. Kind of the danger in what you're doing here is, if you notice, this is a little bit lower, just a little bit lower than the others. But if I spend all day trying to raise this one up, then the next thing you know is you're going to have to raise the other ones up and that kind of thing. So we're not really going to be that particular about this. These are interlocking, so as you lock more and more together, the stronger, the more of a unit the tiles act, and everything kind of holds each other in. I'm happy with this. I got the idea of how much that we need to pound down on high spots. And one little nice little hack that Kim, I think, has been showing you already is just using a heavy hammer and just hammering down the high spots. And believe it or not, this really makes it pretty smooth. So it's actually been a really good tool. So we'll go over there and we're gonna actually start in that corner because, let me show you why. Come on over. Here we have no room to play. So we want to start on this end because we have no other room to adjust that. But down there we do. So what we can do then, install here, and it's recommended that you install all the way to the right, one row at a time. That way, if there's an issue, oops, it pushes this way and we have play here. So we can go into this bark if we need to. If we're a little shy, we backfill it with the bark. And it looks great, like we know what we're doing. All right, let's do it.
What we're doing now is we're laying down a snap line because we're realizing our edging is not quite straight, and probably something we should have done first, but you know what? You live and you learn with these backyard DIY projects. So Jerry's going to undo the edging. We are going to line it up against this pink line. So we've got a nice straight line to start our deck. The other thing that's really important to do, especially when you're laying down the 1x1 tiles, is measuring to the nearest foot. So our area here is 15 feet by 9 feet. You don't want it to be like 14.5 by 8.5 because then you end up cutting a whole bunch of those square foot tiles when you get to the very end. So we're trying to keep this as simple as possible. It's making a big difference there. And one reason why we really like this edging is because it's a lot less work because you don't have to dig it into the ground. You've got these little grooves here that you just nail it in to hold it in place.
We'll do our best with this edging though. It's rubbery, so it bends, but we're still in the neighborhood.
We're backyard DIYers, so we're just out here doing our thing, and it's okay if there's a couple of mistakes along the way.
What are you showing here?
15 feet, so we need to move our stake in just a little bit. We feel so much better about this. It just looks so much straighter, and
Yeah.
it's really going to help us with the install.
Yep.
It's an important first step here. We're really excited because we're about ready to start our install, and we're going to start with the cornerstone right over here. So I'm just clearing out the area here so we're not laying the tiles down on any debris.
This piece is the cornerstone, the most important piece of this deck. It's going to start the path along the front and along the side. So we make sure we line that up well. And the way that these work is that they have pegs on one tile, circles on the other, and we'll drop them in just like that. Allows you to change the direction of the pattern if you choose. Kind of nice. So here we go. We're going to put this right up against the edging as best we can. The edging's a little bent, so we have that, but that's nothing we can do about that. I'm peeking over the top now to make sure our snap line is in line with that, and that looks good. I like it. Kim, what are your thoughts?
I think it looks great.
Okay.
It's nice. I like the direction of the lines, the planks.
Yep.
Matches our deck up above really nicely.
I like the lighter wood actually better
Yeah,
than the
better.
darker
Me
wood.
too. I have a feeling we might end up redoing the chill zone this summer too.
And if you were paying attention to the earlier part of the video, you go all the way across first. That's the best way to go because it forces these to stay interlocked as you move across. And that's what we want. We don't want them coming undone. So I'm doing my best to not lift these as much as possible.
We may have to just kind of work as we go and then pound
Yeah.
things out
Yeah.
and level it. It's taking shape for the first line here. It looks
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit high here.
Also, what we found with the chill zone is that with the weight of what we put on it, it kind of helps lower it down, and then they all interlock together as we go, which helps strengthen the whole structure. Beds and all the vegetables I'm going to grow.
Fella can dream.
So we are kind of getting our system down here, which I think is half the battle when you're doing a project. Jerry's doing the install. I'm going along in front of him and kind of pounding out the high spots so he doesn't have to do that. And then he's kind of doing the same and checking everything as we go to see if we need to make any adjustments for the tiles to snap together properly. Do you think, Mac, you gonna join us down here for a little bit? Come here, hop over. Good boy. These pads are totally saving our knees.
Totally.
Couldn't ask for a better dog.
We're about halfway through now. We're making a good pace.
It's going a lot faster than I thought, which I'm really glad because the clouds are just getting darker and darker.
There's still some high spots, but you know, it's okay. I don't think it's going to be a game changer. Mac, what do you think?
We're not sure if Mac likes the treats or if he really likes us. I think a little of both.
Well, as you can see, it's coming along very well, nicely. But I saw a hill over here and it's bugging me, and I just can't let it go. So I'm gonna, cut open the cloth here and just loosen some of this up and just kind of take it out. I think I'll be glad that I did it. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, you're gonna regret it if you don't.
Here we go, guys, the last piece. I cannot believe how quickly this came together. Of course, I had a few challenges along the way, but every single DIY project we've ever done does.
So true.
And we're just really happy to get it done before we get a deluge of rain here. Such a good feeling of accomplishment. Of course it won't go together.
I'm really tired.
We are tired. It's like a 5-hour quad workout. Nice job, Jerry, you got
I
it.
think that's it. Yeah.
Snaps together like butter. Phase 3 installation is 97% complete.
Yep.
And just in time, because here comes the rain. It's starting to sprinkle just a little bit. We still have a few things left to finish, a few custom cuts around the corners, a little bit of edging, but it feels so good. I'm really excited about it.
It feels great, and I do hope that it was fun for you and that you learned something taking a project from conception, from walking the job, to the final phase, which was installation and touch-ups.
Right, so let us know how it inspired you in your garden and what you learned from it. And make sure to follow along with this whole project, because we're going to be getting the raised beds up. Jerry's got a potting bench to build, and we've got maybe a light post to install. So we look forward to finishing it up this spring. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Hi everyone. Okay, so here's the plan. Today I'm going to set up a raised bed on our new deck right behind me here. It's quick, simple, doesn't require construction. It's just an easy way to get growing vegetables. In about 15 minutes, I'm going to have a space set up and ready to grow, and I can't wait for you to see how fast it all comes together. Now, our old deck was sagging and we really couldn't use it anymore. So I started thinking about what could we do with this space. So we installed this new interlocking tile, and now it's time to install a garden. So I'm envisioning, I don't know if you ever dream about your garden, a couple of raised beds right here, a trellis arch in between, nice and green, a spot to sit under, and maybe even a potting bench in the corner. So I'm really excited to get it going today. Now, the whole point of this project is to keep it simple, not to take a lot of time, because things are getting really busy in the garden right now, and for it to be low budget. I don't have time for a big construction project, to go to the hardware store, to buy the wood, cut the wood, build it. So what I decided to go with is a Smart Pot raised bed. Now this is a 2x4 raised bed. And the great thing about this is I can just pop it up, fill it with soil, and have an instant garden ready to plant my vegetables. It's affordable, and the 2x4 size fits my space perfectly to be quick and easy to pop up. Now here's where the magic happens. In one quick step, literally, I'm assembling this bed in just a few minutes. I'm popping it up and then adding the pre-cut PVC pipe, which is all in the box along the edges to hold up the garden bed. It even has this really nice support in the middle, and voila, I've got this instant garden bed. It's so quick and easy, and I honestly love how it turned out. I love how quickly this came together, and all you need is a drill. It's just so easy to assemble. I'm just gonna pick it up and move it to where I'm envisioning it to be, right over here. Now, what's better than one raised bed, but two raised beds? So exciting to finally see my vision come together. 2 raised beds, soon as we get them filled with soil and planting, we'll have lots of fresh veggies out here. And we're gonna keep a little seating area right here so we can chill out and relax at the end of the day. And Jerry's gonna build me a potting bench right back here, and then hopefully he's gonna get his lamp post right behind us. But there's still one more thing left, an arch trellis, so I can grow vertically and really maximize every square inch of this space. Now this one I actually accidentally bought 2 of about a year ago on Amazon and forgot to return it. Have you guys ever done that? We're gonna put it to good use over here in the garden. Now I'm really excited about this as an arch to connect these 2 garden beds. It's gonna be lush and vibrant and green and full of veggies, and even a fun little place to sit. I used our new garden planner to lay out the space, figure out what veggies I want to grow, install the trellis, and even figure out what veggies I want to grow over the trellis. So excited about this new space, and all that's left is to fill it with soil. We're going to be adding drip and also adding plants. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. I hope that this video really helped you think of some ideas on how to quick, simple, inexpensive, make over a backyard garden space and have a beautiful spot to grow in. Now keep in mind, I did pay for this at one point, but I forgot I had it. So it really does make it quick and simple to get set up. Let me know what new ideas you have for your outdoor space. Looking forward to reading your comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden. Hey everyone, well today's the day. We're continuing the deck makeover by filling our Smart Pot raised beds we popped up a few weeks ago with some soil. And I'm very excited about this soil. It's a new soil for me. I've been testing out for a few months and it's the best soil I've ever used. So I'm excited to share that with you today. I'm also going to be sharing with you along the way here some components of really good soil. So you know exactly how to choose good raised bed soil for your raised beds, for your containers, so that you can grow a lot of veggies too. So let's jump in. We got some work to do, but it's going to be... Now before we get the raised beds filled with soil, I've got a little surprise for you. I asked Jerry to build me some dollies for my new raised beds. And the reason why is because oftentimes we need to move our raised beds for product shoots. Of course, way too heavy. They're filled with soil, so the dollies on wheels will do the trick. Plus, I wanted to be able to chase the sun or chase the shade, whatever the case might be, depending on the time of year. And I was so excited because we were able to build these completely out of repurposed materials from our deck up above and this deck here. The only thing I had to purchase was the wheels. These wheels are super sturdy, 4-inch wheels. They're gonna hold, according to the product specifications, up to 2,000 pounds. So they'll be plenty strong enough to hold our raised beds. So without further ado, let's get these installed. Jerry's getting pretty handy, so I was very excited that he was able to build these in just a few hours. Now the cool thing is the wheels lock. It's really nice to have the option to move the beds around if I want to. And you can't beat that the wheels are red, right? I'm so excited to get this whole garden set up. This is so much fun. Get our Smart Pots in place there. The nice thing is it raises them up just a little bit too, give a little bit more height and dimension to the deck. This is gonna be so fun. Now Jerry made the dollies just a little bit wider than the raised beds to support all the weight. And I absolutely love how this right here used to be right here, and we're totally reusing it. Time to get the trellis in. It's a little bit higher to lift with the dollies than it was before. Little note about the placement of the trellis. I'm placing it in the back of the garden beds because the sun comes from this way. That way it doesn't shade out any plants in the front, and then the weight of the soil is gonna hold it in place. So we actually repurposed this trellis as well. Actually, I forgot to return it. So go back and watch all the videos in this deck makeover series so that you can see the whole transformation. Now let's get to the soil. Good quality soil is super critical for the growth of your garden. It's really like the foundation of a house. If the foundation isn't good, the house is gonna fall. And it's the same thing with soil. Good quality soil supports your plants from above and from below the ground. And I've been testing out a new soil in my garden over the past couple of months from Master Nursery Garden Centers called Bumper Crop. And they just came out with a new raised bed soil. And believe me, you guys, this is the best soil I've ever used. When I opened the bag, Jerry heard me, I literally took a gasp and I said, I can't believe how amazing this soil is. So this brand new raised bed soil is not even available to the public yet. It should be available this spring and summer over at masternursery.com. Been really excited to show it to you guys. It's formulated or manufactured by E.B. Stone Organics here on the West Coast and in the Western US. And it's really reasonably priced at your local Master Nursery Garden Centers. at independent garden centers all over the US. And I've used so many poor soils in my life that's filled with lots of fillers like wood chips that just rob the nitrogen from the soil. And look at the amazing quality of the soil. It's black and rich, no heavy fillers, not lots of wood chips in here. And the first time I filled a container with the soil, it just soaked up the moisture. It didn't take anything to moisten it and get it ready for planting. The first component that I look for in a potting mix is moisture retention. And the reason why this is so important is that the soil needs to retain the moisture, but yet not drain too quickly. It needs to have good moisture around the roots of the plants so it can uptake moisture and uptake nutrients. A lot of the cheap bag mixes have peat moss in them, which doesn't always hold moisture so well, but this one doesn't. It's got coco coir and fir bark, which really hold the moisture in. So I'm gonna dump this first bag in here. It just smells amazing. And one of the things I really love about EB Stone is that they are eco-friendly in the way they manufacture the soil. They actually use wind turbines to power their entire plant and their production facility. And one of the reasons why Master Nursery Garden Centers is able to sell this for such a great price is because they manufacture it regionally. There's a production facility on the West Coast that services the garden centers in the Western United States. There's also one on the East Coast called Coast of Maine Organics that services the Midwest and the Eastern local independent garden centers with this soil. So it's really a great price. Now, most premium potting mixes are about twice the cost. So I'm really happy with how value priced this is for a premium mix. Now, too much bark in potting mix, which I'm sure you've seen, can be a problem because it tends to break down and rob your plants of nitrogen, while also making the mix way too chunky and it dries out super quick. But fir bark has a fine, uniform texture that breaks down slowly, which helps maintain the soil structure and aeration and really helps your plants get steady nutrients and great drainage. Just look at how beautiful the soil is. It smells so nice and earthy too. Now, this raised bed soil will be coming out this spring and summer. In the meantime, you could use the Master Nursery Bumper Crop Potting Mix for your raised beds and check over at masternursery.com. It's only available at your local independent garden center, so check over there for a location near you. And I'll keep you posted on when it's available. Now, each one of the Smart Pots raised beds here, the urban raised beds, takes 13.5 cubic foot of soil. Each bag is 2 cubic feet, so roughly 7 bags for each raised bed. This is getting fun. Another component of healthy soil that you should look for in a bag mix is aeration. And that is super important because the soil needs to have air and good drainage because the roots have to breathe. They need that oxygen in order to grow. And the Smart Pots is also aerated. So the combination of the Smart Pot urban raised bed and the soil, match made in heaven. Now, oxygen is absolutely critical for healthy root growth. The more roots, the more fruit, or the more vegetables. Now, a lot of other bag mixes use heavy fillers like bark that can really compact and hinder the airflow in your raised beds, which actually leads to waterlogged roots and maybe even root rot, which can kill your plants. But this mix includes pumice, which is a volcanic rock that really helps with soil aeration and prevents compaction. Super important. It allows the roots to breathe and helps with drainage. Another component of healthy soil I always look for in bag mixes are nutrients, because obviously you want your soil to have good nutrients for plant growth. Now, a lot of the cheaper bag mixes you'll find at your Home Depots or your Lowe's have synthetic fertilizers and cheap fillers. But this mix has additional nutrients so you don't have to add any fertilizers. It actually has worm castings, additional coir for drainage, and chicken manure. So I'm saving money because I'm not having to add additional fertilizers to my raised beds before I plant. So these good organic nutrients will feed my plants for a couple of months. Oh man, I cannot wait to grow veggies on these raised beds. Woo-hoo. 6 bags down, 1 to go. And the other thing about this mix, I mentioned the fir bark. The fir bark will decompose slowly over time, which feeds my plants over time. So it's got those good slow release fertilizers in there. I mean, these guys have really thought of everything. Moisture retention, aeration, and nutrients. This mix really has it all. And when I'm filling my raised beds, I like to fill them all the way to the top, about an inch or so from the top. That way you have a little bit of room, extra room for mulch. But if you don't fill it all the way full, your soil is going to settle. I mean, it will settle a little bit naturally over time as the materials in the soil decompose. But if you don't fill it all the way to the top, it will settle and you're going to end up having to fill it a lot more the next growing season. So this looks just about right. Still a little bit of room for mulch too on the top after I plant. Tuck it in here around the trellis. This is getting exciting. I always like to smooth it out on top, but really I just like to get my hands in the soil here. Now we are going to be adding drip irrigation in just a couple of weeks, so make sure you stay tuned for that video. We'll get it all ready to plant. One raised bed filled, one to go. We've got 7 more bags. And you guys realize Jerry lugged all these bags down the stairs. He's quite the guy. And he built the dollies for me. Last bag, 1 bag left. It's super exciting to get this all put in today. Now, there's gonna be a lot more going on here. We've got a new drip system to install. We're showing you how to do that step by step, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. We've got some vegetables to plant. Can't wait to see them all growing up the trellis here. And remember, Jerry's gonna build me a potting bench too. You don't wanna miss anything. Woohoo, this stuff looks great. I'm very excited to be working with Master Nursery Garden Centers and their amazing line of bumper crop soils and fertilizers this year. So make sure you look for that product at your local independent Master Nursery Garden Center. And by the way, one of their soil experts from EB Stone who formulates this soil is going to be on our live stream this coming Monday, February 24th at noon Pacific time. So make sure you join us in the chat for that live stream. He'll be sharing a lot of soil tips that will be very beneficial for your garden. So let me know in the comments if you've ever tried any of the bumper crop soils or fertilizers. I'll be reading your comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden. Hi everyone. Drip irrigation is a total game changer. It saves me water, a ton of time, and keeps my garden thriving with accurate, consistent watering. But if you've never installed it before, it can feel very, very intimidating. But I've got good news for you. My special guest today and I are gonna break it down for you step by step so you know exactly how to install it all the way from your hose bib to your garden bed and dial it in without the headaches. Now, I've been using and testing Mr. Landscaper here in my garden for several months. I can't believe how easy it is to install, makes watering a breeze, and believe it or not, it's actually fun. So by the end of this video, you're gonna be excited and feel confident to install drip irrigation in your garden and water the easy way. Let's dive in. This is Sam, the inventor and founder of Mr. Landscaper. Sam, welcome to our garden.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And we're excited for Sam to help us with our drip irrigation install today. And share with us a little bit, Sam, for those of our viewers who have never used drip irrigation. What is it? How does it help your garden? And what are some of the headaches that people experience with it?
Oh, thank you so much. So drip irrigation is really a light drip. I know it sounds funny, but it's just a light drip of water. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to just really concentrate the water near the plant's roots. And it's not like overwatering. You know, like giving your kid a glass of milk instead of trying to give your kid a gallon of milk at a serving, right? So we're just slowly, gently watering right around the base of the plant. And I know a lot of people are kind of confused about drip or maybe even afraid of it. And I understand that. You go into the store and you see thousands of little pieces of black little, fittings. What do I do with it,
It's
right?
confusing.
Totally. And I know there's a lot of worry about how do I do it or what do I buy and, can I even do it, right?
Yes.
So really what I'd like to do with you today is to show people how easy it is to really install. Like we've gone on our way to make our fittings really user-friendly, easy to turn on and off. I mean, we just have so many benefits that we've done over the years, just listening to people, listening to kind of their headaches and, their frustrations and trying to redesign our products so that they're easy as possible to install.
I love that because traditionally over the years for me, it's been really hard to connect those fittings, make sure the drippers aren't clogged, and sometimes it can just be a real headache just getting it installed in your garden. What are a few things that you've done to make it really easy? I know you've got all the kits.
Right.
Like, what about that? I mean, to me, that's like the dream, right?
Well, the reason why that came about is because people didn't know how to start. They didn't know what to buy or purchase. So what we did is we took that headache away from them. We knew exactly what you needed. We knew what hose fitting you needed to attach, how much tubing to use, what fittings that you would use. And then we think about things like, okay, so we don't know exactly how many, in this particular situation, how many rows they have. Like, you know, everybody has their own different vegetable gardens. Some people have raised beds, some people have like a little plot. And so we try to think of putting enough items in there so they could do several different rows. And then we think of little things like, okay, when they get to the end, how do they stop it? How do you stop the flow of water coming out the end?
Right.
So we have little goof plugs that go in the end of the tubing on the drip kits so that you can end each row.
Perfect, because we all make goofs when we're installing.
Yeah, that's why we called it that. I think it's a funny name.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I'm really excited about is we've been working on this area for quite a while. Our viewers have been watching us install the decking, install the raised beds, fill them with soil. And the next step, before we get our veggies planted in just a couple of weeks, is to install drip so our veggies, right when we get them planted, have really good effective watering.
Cool.
So we're going to be installing the vegetable garden drip kit with your help today. Very excited about this, Sam. So why don't we bust open the kit and see what's inside?
Sounds great.
This is the vegetable garden drip kit, and I absolutely love how this takes all the guesswork out of installing drip irrigation. I am just so thrilled with having these kits available to us. One thing I love about this that I think makes it so easy to install, pictures and directions on the back. This is a real game changer. I use this as I was installing to look at all the parts and follow the directions step by step. And that's basically what we're going to help our viewers do today, is just walk through it and show everyone how easy this is. So Sam, why don't you help me pull out everything that's in here?
Sure. So we'll pull out the little tab and then I'll kind of show you what we have in this nice kit. What we have in here today, Kim, is we have 100 linear feet of inline drip tubing. So what that means is every single 12 inches is a little half-gallon-hour dripper. You can see the little hole where the water comes out.
Yes.
And then in this bag, we have all our components to be able to hook up to the faucet. We have the 1/4-inch vinyl tubing. This is so we can run from the 1/2-inch tubing to the inline little feeder. You know, so we can
Nice.
feed it from the main line.
So no drip emitters here. It's kind of like your water supply line
Yeah,
to your
the
raised
mini,
beds.
the mini supply line.
Okay, perfect.
And then the main supply line is this 1/2-inch poly tubing.
Okay, wonderful. And one thing I love too that I've used a ton is the product guide, which has pictures of all the drippers and all the different components. You can add things on. It just really helps to have the pictures. I don't know, I'm very visual, so the pictures
Me
are
too.
real helpful for me, and also for someone who's never done it before.
And we even have in there maximum runs.
Oh, nice.
That's a question we get a lot is like,
Okay.
I have, you know, this many feet of gardens. How far can I go with, and the dripper still work?
That's perfect, 'cause that's always a confusing point for me as well.
Yeah.
So basically in this kit, we have plenty of supplies
Yeah,
to cover these 2 raised beds, right?
exactly. So we have enough tubing here, Kim, to probably do maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30 raised beds. Yeah, because think
Wow.
about it. These are what, maybe 3-4 feet?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
perfect.
2 feet. So we're only going to use, think about it, less than 10 feet of probably tubing in each one of these. So
I'll have leftovers.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to expand and extend all over your yard with this.
Perfect. Is there anything else that we need besides what's in the kit to do the install?
Just a pair of scissors.
Well, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
I am so glad we're getting this installed because I do not have time to hand water on my raised beds. And then if I'm not consistent with my watering, my veggies aren't going to make it.
Yeah, it's a good point. This is truly the alternative to hand watering. Anyone that's been out there dragging around garden hoses, watering their plants, vegetables, whatever you've been watering with your garden hose, this is going to save you so much time, but it's also going to save you a lot of water. You know, because you're watering with drippers and you're going to be watering right at the base of the plant instead of, you know, out there with the garden hose, you tend to overwater, right?
Right.
And so that's going to save you money because it's going to save on your water bill.
Yeah, and water is so expensive these days, so anything like that totally helps.
I agree.
Okay, let's get it installed.
Let's do it.
Woo! Okay, so we're gonna start over at the faucet, but first off, I went ahead and put a timer on it because I forget to turn my water on and off, and that way it gets the consistent watering that it needs. It's gonna help me harvest and grow a lot more vegetables. I don't wanna forget and have my vegetables die. So what do we start with first from the kit?
Okay, what I suggest starting with is the pressure regulator. And the reason why is that, Kim, I know here at your house you have 70 pounds of pressure, but people have anywhere from 40 pounds of pressure up to 100 pounds of pressure. And the little drippers that are in the inline drip tubing, that would just ruin them. You know, they can't handle that kind of pressure. So by putting the 25-pound regulator, if I got 70 pounds coming into that faucet and through the timer, I'm going to have, when I come out of there, about 25 pounds. And
Okay.
that's a perfect amount of pressure for the drippers.
So this is a super, super important
Yes.
component not to leave off your kit. Make sure you put the pressure regulator on.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and screw this right on to the end
Yeah.
of one of the zones of my timer. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey is how I always remember it. We're just gonna use one of these timer outlets for now.
And just hand strength is all you
Nice.
need to get that on there. There you
Perfect.
go.
All right,
Perfect.
great.
So the next step is almost as equally as important as a pressure regulator is the filter. Because we're talking really, think about half a gallon hour drippers. That orifice is so small, you know, it could get plugged up so easily. So why not just take away the headache of worrying about getting your drippers clogged and go ahead and start with a filter.
We want all that watering going right to my veggies.
And the cool thing about that filter, Kim, is that you can actually undo the end of it and you can pull out the screen and clean it if you ever needed to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. That little cap comes off and the filter screen just pulls out. Yeah, look at there.
Oh my gosh, and you can just rinse it out
Yeah,
and you are good to go
yeah,
again.
and then just shove it back in. You got it.
Perfect. Love that.
From here, once you get the end cap put back on, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up the hose fitting. And what this hose fitting is for is so that you can actually attach the 1/2-inch poly tubing. So that would be the next step.
Perfect.
So I'm
and
gonna
I'm
hand you the-
assuming it goes right here.
Right, and you can position this. So like we're gonna end up going down here, right? So these things have a swivel. So you can actually just turn it like this, Kim.
Oh, nice.
Yep, and it has a swivel. So we can swivel it maybe down so the tubing kind of comes
Oh,
down
nice.
towards the ground.
So you can orient it whichever way
Yeah.
your garden is from the hose faucet and from
Yep,
the
and
timer.
you just, again, go on hand tight.
Nice.
Kim, the next thing we're gonna do is hook up the poly tubing. And I just wanna point out real quick, if Jerry can get it tightened in on that, there's a built-in O-ring. You see that little ring right there, that little bulge in the plastic? What that is for is that once the tubing gets over and past that, when you go to tighten this over the tubing, it's gonna tighten the tubing to the collar so it locks down. But what's nice is you can undo it, turn it back over the tubing, and you can wiggle the tubing off, so they're all reusable.
That is so nice. I love how they're reusable parts. I can't tell you how many parts I have wasted my money because I made a mistake and then I couldn't get them off.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of the other companies that offer drip irrigation use like compression fittings, and I have to tell you, Kim, they are a nightmare. It is so hard. You got to be almost like Mr. Hulk to get those things in there, and then you never know if you got them on far enough. So this kind of took all those problems away from homeowners by having this type of fitting, is that you know you got it on far enough, because when you go to tighten down that collar, it should only turn about one turn. If it keeps spinning, then you just didn't get it past the O-ring, and you just got to push the tubing on a little bit further.
Nice. You get on tight enough and then it's not going to leak at all
That's
on
right.
you.
That's right.
Perfect.
So to start with, Kim, you're just gonna kind of grab the back side of that filter, and you're just gonna use that as leverage, and you're just gonna push and wiggle that tubing so that you get it on far enough past that O-ring. Yeah, you just push and wiggle.
Perfect. I can feel it kind of get
Yeah,
down in there.
you feel it get tight, right?
Yeah, it's
That's all you have
nice
to do.
and tight. Okay.
And then now you're gonna counterclockwise, just like that. You're gonna turn. See how you can only turn it that
Oh,
far?
yeah. It is tight.
That's it. That's all you should be able to turn it, and you know it's on tight that way.
That is so easy.
Isn't that
I am
great?
just thrilled.
I love these fittings.
So this is our 1/2-inch water line that's going to take water to the garden beds. But this is the point where I always struggle. Unrolling the tubing, getting it to the garden beds, it always kinks. It's a mess, it's hard to work with, and it just takes me forever to do.
Kim, I know your pain, and so do a lot of other people that have
Yeah.
installed drip irrigation. This polyethylene tubing is a little bit stiffer and a little, it's kind of crazy to unroll this. It's happened to me as well. But I learned years ago a couple tricks to show you.
Oh, good.
The first trick is that while you're getting all set up and getting ready to install your drip irrigation, is just put this roll of tubing out on like your sidewalk if you have a sunny day, and it warms it up a little bit, so that'll make it a little softer.
Oh, nice.
But there is a really cool trick that I learned years ago, and that is to fill it up with water before you unroll it. You're going to
Oh.
actually install the end fitting now, which is normally what we do at the end.
Yeah.
But if you go ahead and install the end fitting now, we're going to turn on the faucet and
Okay.
fill this tubing with water so that it really unrolls much
nice.
easier. And so the end fitting, you just push it on one end.
It's like the crimper?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's our end crimper. And then
Cool.
go about 6 inches like that, and then you're going to bend it in half. And then you're going to run it through the other hole, and that ends the line.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so now we're just going to turn on the water and fill
Ooh.
that up with water.
Okay, it's exciting.
And you can hear the water flowing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to fill in.
And I feel the hose getting heavier
You feel it
already.
getting heavy?
Yeah, this is great.
Okay, so now all you have to do is just unwind it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is
just,
a dream.
just go backwards, rolling it as it was on the coil, and look at that. Look
This
at
is
it
a
laying
dream.
there. Have you ever had this
No.
happen before?
No, it always kinks up right in the middle.
Right?
This is perfect.
Can you believe how nice it works when it's filled with water like that?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for this tip.
Yeah.
I know our viewers are all gonna really enjoy this. I'm just gonna tuck in this 1/2-inch tubing right behind the deck here so it's nice and neat and tidy. Of course, Mac, in the way, Mac. That's okay, we love it. All right, we're all set.
Okay, so now we're going to hook it up to the poly tubing that you just laid out.
All right, this will be fun.
Awesome.
Show me what to do.
Okay, so what we're going to do next to cute little Mr. Mac, we're going to hook this system up to the poly. But to do that first, Kim, is I'm going to hand you one of our barbed couplers.
Okay.
And you just use the tool that comes in the kit and you stick it in the bottom of that tool.
I mean, how many
Yeah,
times
go
have
ahead and
I
push it over-
struggled
there you
with
go.
these? That is really neat. I love that.
And now you're going to attach the vinyl to that barb
Oh, wow.
and just push it in. Hey, buddy. Yeah. There you go. And you just that's right, you just keep pushing till you get past that barb, and you want to try and bring that vinyl all the way to the end of the little hex there.
Okay.
There you
so
go.
the vinyl is the supply line that will bring the water from the 1/2-inch
Yes.
to the garden bed.
That's right.
Great.
Good job.
Oops. Okay, is that good?
That's it.
All right.
You pull it apart. Now what you're going to do is you're going to attach it to the poly. Now, Kim, if you don't mind me showing you real quick, when you're attaching to poly, a lot of times people think just to like snap a hole and kind of go from this angle.
Right.
But when you do that, you see how the tubing is kind of sticking up?
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of trip on it. So I always suggest snap your hole on the side, and then that way it's laying nice and flat.
So am I doing this right here?
That's right. You just push into it, and you're going to hear a little pop.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Isn't that cool?
That is
And then
so
you just-
easy.
I know. And just pull it out.
Okay.
And now you're going to just take, and you see the little wings right here? You can use those to push, to give you leverage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you're just going to snap it in the hole you just made. And just push it in. And you hear another
Oh,
pop.
that's perfect.
So you know you got it in there.
I was getting ready to push really hard because that's normally what I have to do, or I have my little clicker lighter out here to soften the tubing. This is like a dream. I can't believe it.
Kim, great job. Now
Thank
we're going to
you.
go over to your veggies.
All right, can't wait. Okay, here we are.
Yeah, so now that you've unrolled some of the vinyl and you kind of get an idea of like where you're going to put, your first line, which is
Okay.
really anywhere along there would be
Yeah,
good.
I was kind of thinking, Sam, if it will work, if we come up here through
Sure.
the corner of the smart pot.
What a great
That
idea.
way it's not quite as obtrusive.
Yeah, so probably where you give yourself enough slack. I always
Okay.
like to have a little more than a little less, you know what I mean? But I think
Right.
if you cut it anywhere along there, it would be great.
Okay, perfect.
And you just need a pair of scissors, Kim.
I can't believe how soft this tubing is, too.
I know. We make it with a really thick wall and a very, very high quality vinyl, so it's nice and flexible.
Now, Sam, I didn't get this quite straight. Is that a big deal?
Would probably be better if you got a straight cut. So if you don't mind, I would
Sure.
recut it.
Okay. Easy to do.
Oh,
there
look
we
at
go.
there.
Nice
Now
and straight.
that is perfect.
Good.
Okay, so now for the first step is we're gonna actually have you install one of our inline on-off valves.
Oh,
so I'm gonna hand it
nice.
to you. It's got a barb on each side. And Kim, if I don't mind stopping for a second, I'm getting ready to make your life really easy.
Oh, good.
If you can take this into this vinyl and put it into like a cup of warm water, like, heat up a cup of from the microwave and just stick the tip end into
Wow.
that. I know, you're not gonna believe
This is crazy.
So you stick that in, right? And even though our vinyl tubing is really soft to begin with, this just makes it go on so much easier.
Oh, wow. My
Yeah.
hands are going to be, thank you so much. Sam.
And that's probably enough right there. Go ahead and try now taking the end of that tubing and shoving that barb on and see if it makes a big difference for you.
Oh, it's like butter.
it's
I
like
cannot
butter.
believe this.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. You guys really have thought of everything here.
Okay, so now Kim, you're gonna hook up the inline drip tubing.
Cool. Got water here, huh?
And you notice
Okay.
how we have a little bit of a lead in there for people?
Oh, yeah.
So kind of decide, Kim, where you want your first dripper. And you can
Okay.
see the drippers because there's a little hole and a little bulge in the tubing. That's where the dripper is embedded in.
Perfect.
What I mean by a lead is that from the end of the tubing to the first dripper, that's kind of blank. And it's
Okay.
just to allow people a little bit more room to get to their garden. But in this case, I would just go ahead and trim it off where you want your first plant.
Okay, well, I'm going to be planting cucumbers here, so I definitely want to get water right off the bat here at the trellis. So
Okay.
does this leave me enough
Yeah.
space to connect it to
There
the
you go.
line? Okay. And by the way, I love the on-off valve because it really gives me control over
Yeah.
how much I'm watering.
Exactly. And it allows you to turn it off.
Perfect.
Now, I would suggest again, because this is actually a different material. It's not vinyl, it's polyethylene, a little stiffer.
Okay.
I would definitely get your cup of hot water again.
Okay.
And you just dip it in there. Just takes a few
So
seconds.
simple.
I know, right?
Who would think
I know.
instead of my lighter, I can just use hot water. That's great.
Yep. You're just gonna warm it up just a little bit, and probably that's enough
that good?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, just try that. And now you're gonna take the end, and you're going to attach it to the other side. And you're just gonna keep pressing and wiggling. And look how easy
Oh
that
my
was.
gosh,
It's
that's perfect.
crazy, right?
Wow, that is crazy. So much easier. And that's worth the price of admission right there. You have no idea how my hands have hurt using the clicker and then just trying to wiggle that tubing into place. I mean, anyone could do this.
Exactly, and I feel your pain. We've been doing this for years and years, and actually, we do this ourselves for the ag customers. We heat up the vinyl when we're putting our assemblies together, and so we knew how much easier it was for us. So that's why we try to share it with as many people as we can. Listen, make your life easy. Go just heat up a cup of water. That's all it takes.
That's perfect. Even a child or even someone with arthritis or disabilities
Sure.
in their hands could get in here and do this.
Yeah, I'm starting to get arthritis in my joints, especially my thumbs, and that just is a game changer.
So now I got to get the drip emitter tubing here in my raised bed. And I'm so glad that you showed me how easy this is just to unroll as you go here. And you got the support sticks over there?
Yeah, these are gonna make your life a lot easier, Kim. I'm gonna
Perfect.
just put them right here, hand them as you need them, but those are
Perfect.
gonna make it so much easier.
Yeah, because I really want this tubing to stay right next to my vegetables, and I'm probably going to start planting some cucumbers right here. So I want this emitter right off the bat to stay right next to my cukes. And what's the little trick to keeping this in place here?
Okay, so see how we made it loose to fit anywhere along the tubing, but if you
Right.
want to get a little tighter, get closer to the dripper.
Oh,
And as you get closer to the dripper, you'll feel it get tighter.
Perfect. So this
And-
is a little bit wider right here.
Yeah, no, there you go.
Okay. Lay it right down here. And I really like to get my drip emitters as close to my vegetables as possible to make sure that they get watered. So I'm just going to lay this all here in a nice straight line. And I love to grab extra stakes because I want to keep this baby in place so my vegetables get all the water that they need. So do yourself a favor and pick up an extra 10 pack there, the Mr. Landscaper website. And I think I'm going to do about 4 rows of veggies in here. So I'm just going to wind this around the raised bed. Put 4 rows of the tubing.
Yeah, you're doing great, Kim.
Thank you.
More stakes down for you.
Ah, thank you. Typically in a larger, say a 4x8 raised bed, we wouldn't need quite as many stakes, but because we're making these tight turns and want to keep this close to my veggies, we're going to need a few more to make sure it's all secured and in place. And once the soil is wet and all the veggies are growing, this tubing is going to stay in place really nicely. It won't be quite so squirrely on us. When the tubing gets filled with water, it makes it a little bit easier to work with. But you know what? You get used to it over time. It's just a little bit stiff there. We got the last one in, cut off the end,
Yep. That's how you end it.
and there we go. We got our drip
Yeah.
irrigation in.
Yep. If you didn't do anything at this point and you turn it on, you'd have water squirting out at you.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to end it with a goof plug.
The good old goof plug. I love these because not only can I plug the line, but it allows me to make mistakes,
Yeah.
and it's okay. All right, so what do I do here with this tool?
So what you're going to do is you're going to put that goof plug in the very butt end of that tool and wait for it, Kim. You're going to hear just a little snap to know you got it all the way in there.
Perfect.
There you go. And now you're just going to shove that right into the end of the tubing. And of course you could heat that tubing up again with some warm water. But with the tool, you have enough leverage really to get it in.
Sam, is this a problem? Because I didn't make a straight enough cut.
You know, I would probably go ahead and redo it, and let me show you how easy that is, Kim.
Oh.
Because it happens to me, it happens to everybody. If you don't, have a good straight cut on your tubing, to get something off that you want to refix, any barbed adapter, any barbed fitting, you literally take your scissors and you kind of cut the tubing, and you can feel how far down in to go to get to the the plastic, and then see how easy that comes off.
Oh, nice.
And now you can get more of a straight edge on it.
Oh, that's good. I'm just going to reinsert the goof plug here. Now, Sam, could I have removed the goof plug by sticking it in a cup of water?
Oh, sure, Kim. That would be easy. You just take the end of that tubing, insert it in a hot cup of water, and it would soften up and you'd eventually be able to pull it out.
I've got 2 raised beds to water. So how do I go from bed to bed?
Kim, that's a great question. And before we go into that, I'd like to talk about maximum runs, if it's okay.
Sure.
So we did approximately about 16 feet over here. So we could add on another 34 feet, because with this type of tubing, this inline drip tubing, you could run 50 feet maximum. So like from your starting point, from your water source, you can go out 50 feet and all drippers will work perfectly. If you go 51 feet, believe it or not, they could all slow down, or even someone could stop dripping. So you really just, maximum runs from the poly tubing is 50 feet.
Okay.
But I wanted to let the viewers know that what's so cool about this tubing, you've got 100 feet in the kit, so you have another 50 feet to go. But you can run up to 500 feet of this 1/4 inch inline drip tubing off of one section, off of one zone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so what we just hooked up to the faucet and the 50 feet of poly that comes in the kit, you could buy an additional 400 feet, and all of that can be run off of this kit as long as each maximum run is no longer than 50 feet.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You could literally irrigate your whole garden
Right?
like this.
Yeah.
So what are my options then here from going from bed to bed?
All
With
right.
that in mind.
All right, so with that in mind, again, because you've only used 16 feet in this first bed, we actually can go 34 more feet into the other bed.
Oh, perfectly. So it's okay to connect them.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And let me show you the 2 options of connecting. So one is you can actually take the vinyl tubing that you've already gone to feed this bed, use one of the 1/4 inch tees that's in the kit, cut the vinyl here, place in the tee, and then run the other piece of the vinyl over to the other bed.
Okay, perfect.
Or Kim, the other option you could do is to go back to the main line. So you could reconnect to the main line and run over to your second bed.
Oh, that's perfect. I think I'd rather do that. I think it's a much cleaner, neater look. I am so excited to have drip irrigation in both of my raised beds here. I cannot wait to get my vegetables planted now. But I do have a question. What happens if one of the emitters gets clogged or stopped up?
Oh, what a great question, because it does happen. It happens, to everyone. So we have a solution for this, and it's
good.
actually really easy. We actually offer these inline drippers. So
Nice.
they use the same amount of water as the drippers that you're already using in this brown inline tubing. They're both 5.5 gallons per hour, half gallon an hour. And what you would do is you would just go right next to the dripper, like right near where it's located, and you would cut, like say, an inch over, cut the tubing, and then insert the dripper there. And so that kind of fixes the clogged one.
Oh, perfect.
And guess what, Kim? It doesn't matter which way you insert it. Both ways work.
That is perfect. And what a time saver, because then I don't have to reinstall all my drip tube here in the raised bed.
That's right.
Now, what happens if, say, I have a vegetable here that I want to make sure gets water and it's in between the 2 emitters?
Oh my gosh, just insert one of these inline drippers right there.
Oh, perfect. So I can just come down here, cut the line, and then wiggle it in there. And the red side is where the dripper comes out.
Yep. And
Perfect.
again, it doesn't matter which side you inserted it in.
Perfect. And then my vegetables get the water that it needs.
Yeah, quick, easy fix.
Now, Sam, I just thought of another question. We installed this today to our faucet, but a lot of viewers have an underground irrigation system. Can they install it to that?
Yes, and we do get that question a lot as well. And we actually have really simple solutions for that. We sell retrofit products.
Oh, perfect.
So we have a retrofit kit, we have a retrofit elbows and tees, and you literally can go from any PVC system to this kit. Because the kit already has the pressure regulator and the filter, which you really need. You just really need that device, depending on if they have 1/2 inch PVC or 3/4 inch. But we do have a fitting that will go into any 1/2 inch threaded fitting. If they're not sure which of our fittings to use for that, all they have to do is contact our customer service. They can call us, they can email us, or live chat us.
Sam, I think it's time. We got to turn the water on. I cannot wait to see the water coming out.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go, Kim. All I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn the on-off valve to the on position.
Ooh, that's a good sound.
Yeah, you can hear them coming.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Look at that. We have water. Woohoo!
That's so
It
cool.
is dripping out.
Yep.
I can imagine this all filled with veggies, getting water, getting me a harvest soon.
That's right.
All the emitters are working great. Even where we put the little extra one in here.
Yep,
we
you
got
can hear
water flowing.
the air that was in the tubing. You can hear the water's pushing the air through. And that
Let's try this bed too.
awesome.
I'm gonna do the honors this time here. Here we go. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Let her roll. We've got water in 2 raised beds now. I hear the sound of vegetables growing. That's what I hear.
That's awesome.
We've run our drip for a little while. The soil's looking great. But one of the questions I get asked the most is how do I know how long to set the timer for and the frequency that I should be watering my raised beds?
This is such an important question and one we get asked a lot as well. And honestly, for me, I call it the finger test. And that way you can kind of dig right around the soil where the dripper is and where the plants are, just to make sure there's enough moisture. And if you don't mind, I'll just demonstrate.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So here we have a dripper here, you know, we see all our drippers, but if I move the soil back a little bit, do you see how wet it is?
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
And even though the dripper is like right there, see how far
Oh,
it does
nice.
go?
Yes.
So now I know I'm getting pretty moisture, and then I can go deep, you know, to see if I got it on long enough. And as you see, as I go in deeper, it's still pretty wet.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I found too is it's a really good idea to check your garden periodically and consistently, because every garden is going to be different depending on the type of soil you're using, depending on the temperature. So for the first couple of weeks, it's kind of a trial and error process till you kind of get it down, but
Sure.
you will. Just check things out, and then if you need to adjust your timer or your frequency, you can do that depending on your growing conditions.
And Kim, one other point is they could actually set their timer to come on like 3 times a day. Most timers have several different frequencies. So you could have it come on for a couple minutes in the morning, a couple minutes in the afternoon, and a couple minutes in the late afternoon.
Perfect. That way the plants are getting the water that they need, and they're going to be thriving and surviving and giving us lots of veggies to eat.
Yeah.
Love
Great.
it. Sam, thank you so much for helping me out here today.
Thank you so much. It's been such a joy working with you today and with Jerry.
We had a great time. And what do you think? Are you feeling a lot more excited and confident to install Mr. Landscaper drip irrigation in your garden? Let me know in the comments. And Sam, where can people find Mr. Landscaper?
Well, Kim, you can go to our website, you can email us, or even if you want to talk to a real live person, you can call us. And we look so forward to working with you and Jerry and all of your fantastic followers. We just feel like what a gift this is to be a part of this.
Wonderful. So head over to MrLandscaper.com, and Sam, you've generously offered our viewers a 20% discount with the code CallieKim. And make sure you stay tuned for part 2 of this, where Sam and I will be installing micro sprayers for your garden and your landscaping. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden. Hi everyone. You don't need full sun to grow vegetables. Now today I'm going to show you 20 easy vegetables you can grow in partial shade, even if you don't have a full sun garden. Now most people think that if you don't have 8 to 10 hours of sunlight a day, you can't grow vegetables. But I've got good news for you. You can. Even if you have just 3 to 4 hours of sunlight a day, you can still grow a productive garden if you grow the right vegetables. Now, I've been gardening for over 30 years, and I've grown plenty of vegetables in partial shade. So today I'm going to break it down for you, show you exactly what vegetables you can grow so you can make the most of the space and the sunlight that you have. Now, partial shade is if you have just 3 to 4 hours of sunlight a day. So you might be on a patio, a balcony, live near trees or fences like most gardeners do and like I do here, but you can still grow vegetables. The key is grow smaller, more compact vegetables that mature quicker and don't use many hours of sunlight, Or if you are going to grow larger vegetables, make sure they're veggies that will thrive in partial shade. So the first vegetable that I love to plant in partial shade gardens are cherry tomatoes. Now you would not want to grow a full-size tomato in a partial shade garden. It's just not going to work. You're going to get frustrated because you won't have enough production. But cherry tomatoes are a different animal. They're extremely vigorous growers. I have a sun gold planted right here next to my trellis. It's a smaller type of tomato, doesn't need as much sunlight to mature, and because it is such a vigorous grower, I can actually prune out some of the growth so I won't shade out vegetables underneath, and we'll still have plenty of growth to fill this trellis. Now, to make the most of your partial shade garden, especially if you're in a small space, do install a trellis over your garden beds or in your containers. I can actually train this tomato to grow up the trellis to maximize every single minute of sunlight that we have. And I like to train it up the trellis with these handy little plastic tomato clips. I used these last season. They are so convenient. So what I can do, this tomato's been planted in here for a couple of weeks. It's just starting to flower. I can actually clip it here to my trellis. Boom, it's very quick, and I'll continue to do that to train the tomato up and allow it to have lots of sunlight as it grows, and I'll get plenty of production from it. Partial shade gardening does involve some strategic planting in order for you to grow the most vegetables that you have in your partially sunny spot. Now, I like to plant my thrillers in the back of the garden bed. That would be the showstoppers, like my tomato here. So that would be on the north side of the garden bed, up a trellis, so they don't shade out the other plants. Another thriller I really enjoy planting in partial shade garden are cucumbers. Now you have to grow the right variety of cucumbers though, because they can be a very large plant. So you want to grow smaller, more compact varieties, or varieties that are very, very vigorous growers and will still give you a good amount of production in a partial shade garden. Now, one of my absolute favorites is the Diva cucumber. And these are in my cucumber seed collection. I have grown them for several years. And one reason I love them is because they don't need pollination in order to produce. So they're very vigorous growers, produce amazing, amazing, delicious cucumbers. And I've grown them in partial shade before, and they do very, very well. So I'm going to pop another of my thriller Diva cucumbers here against my trellis. And I do like to maximize my space here. You can actually plant cucumbers fairly closely together and plant a little bit more here in a partial shaded garden to make sure I get lots of production. I'm going to go ahead and plant 3 here against my trellis. And it is going to be so much fun to see the tomatoes grow over this archway and the cucumbers grow over and kind of meet in the middle and have cucumbers and tomatoes hanging down. I think it'll just be so pretty. Now, of course, you always want to have drip irrigation installed so your plants get the moisture they need right when you plant them. Especially important in a shaded garden to monitor the moisture, because you might not need to do quite as much watering because you're not getting as much sunlight. Now, this area gets about 6 hours of sunlight in the summertime. And one great thing I love about the Mr. Landscaper drip irrigation is that you can install these handy little shutoff valves on your raised beds here so that you can really monitor the watering and not be overwatering your garden, which can be just as detrimental as underwatering. So you can really custom water your garden based on its needs and the hours of sunlight that it gets. Another vegetable I love planting in partial shade are runner beans. Not a small plant, but extremely, extremely productive and so beautiful. One of my favorite varieties is scarlet runner beans. And they are just a gorgeous seed. I mean, look at that seed. And super easy to plant and grow really well in warm weather. All you have to do is really just poke the seed down into the soil. I do like to plant my seeds right next to a drip emitter so it gets plenty of water that it needs. Sometimes scarlet runner beans get a little bit scorched if you plant them in full sun, especially in the heat of the summer. So they actually benefit from a little bit of shade in the afternoon. Now this area mainly gets morning sun, about 6 hours, so it's going to be a perfect spot to grow them. These beans have gorgeous red flowers, so we'll add a beautiful splash of color here to my partial shade garden. The bees and the hummingbirds love them, and they produce delicious tender beans. So I'm really excited to get these planted here. We have our tall thrillers planted that will vine over the trellis here. Now let's plant our fillers, which will really fill in the middle of the garden bed. They're the mid-height plants. And for this, we're going to do some bush beans. Now, most people think you can only grow bush beans in full sun, but you can actually plant them in partial shade. As long as you get about 6 hours of morning sun, they're going to do just great. And I'm going to plant them towards the back of the garden bed because they do get to be about 2 feet tall tall or so, and that way they don't shade out any plants we're going to put in the front. These are the Jackson Wonder bush beans, a gorgeous bean that I absolutely love from my bean seed collection. And again, I'm going to plant them about 2 to 3 inches apart here next to my drip emitter. I think I'm going to plant about 2 rows next to my tomatoes and my scarlet runner beans. Now just keep in mind, vegetables grow slower in partial shade, and you might not get quite as much production out of them as you would in full sun. So just adjust your expectations and then go from there. Now herbs are also very, very easy to grow in partial shade, even the warm weather ones. So I bet you didn't know that. These are 2 different varieties of basil. So basil grows beautifully in dappled sun or dappled shade. And this one is one of my favorites, the Prospera Compact Basil. It's a smaller variety of basil, but extremely, extremely productive. You could just keep pinching it off and harvesting it, and it will literally grow for you all summer long. So I'm just gonna pop it here in this hole. Now, basil is a great filler because, like I mentioned, fillers, you want them to be mid-height plants so they don't shade out the plants in the front. And right next to it, I'm going to plant some Thai basil, another one of my favorite varieties. Now, Thai basil, not only is it very heat tolerant, but it's also very cold tolerant. In fact, here in Southern California, often it will overwinter. You can literally harvest them all summer long just by pinching off the top, which will encourage more growth and bushier growth to really fill in this space nicely, but not get too tall and lanky. Now, you don't have to be limited to raised beds when you grow in partial shade. A lot of you might grow in apartments or balconies, and maybe you're growing in containers. Herbs grow beautifully in containers in partial shade. A few others that I have in here are oregano. We've got thyme here, even warm weather herbs. And we have rosemary right back here. And we have lots of beautiful parsley growing out the middle. So even in containers, you can do your thrillers, fillers, and spillers. And the key thing with herbs is you've got to harvest them once a week. They smell beautiful, and then you'll have tons of herbs for your recipes. Oh, and I forgot, I also have sage back here, and you can grow all these herbs together in one container, and they grow beautifully right here on my potting bench, where it only gets a few hours of sunlight a day. Next category of fillers are greens. I love growing greens here in my partial shade garden. I actually just transplanted this chard from another container a couple of days ago. So it is looking just a little bit wilted, but it's starting to perk up just a little bit. But the great thing about chard is it can really take a lot of abuse and neglect. So it transplants very easily. It takes heat and it takes cold, so it grows all year here in Southern California. And you can often just cut off the entire plant, only leaving a few inches, and it will continue to grow. So it really is a workhorse and will grow beautifully in partial shade. So that's going towards the back here. But I'm also going to plant some kale. I love growing kale. It's such a superfood, and it again takes a lot of abuse. It takes heat, takes cold. The red Russian kale is one of my favorites, and we eat kale almost every single day in our smoothies. So we're definitely going to get some more planted in here. I just love these purple stalks, don't you guys? So there's so many gorgeous varieties of kale. Most of these seeds I sell over on our website. Now, most varieties of greens grow beautifully in partial shade. So if you love salads and you have a shady garden, you're in luck. One of my favorites is right over here in this raised bed. Giant red mustard greens. I absolutely love these. We have these so often in salads. Now, one thing though, one strategy I like to use in my garden is to transplant volunteers that are coming up from other garden beds into spaces where I need them. So I actually have some little red mustard greens right up the hill. I'm gonna go grab a transplant and then pop it into our partial shade garden here. Choose fast-growing vegetables for your partial shade garden and you're gonna have a lot more luck. And mustard greens are definitely that. Now here's some popping up in this garden bed here. And since it's getting hot, mustard greens don't take the heat in the full sun too well. So I'm gonna dig up a couple of these volunteer plants that just came up from last year somehow. Got one on that shovel and one on the other, very delicately. Well, they are pretty hardy plants. And let's go down and add them to my partial shade garden. So it's kind of fun to do this. So they grow very easily from seed, but if you don't have seeds, this is a great way to save yourself a little bit of money. They can grow to be large plants, but they'll probably be a little bit smaller in this partial shady area. I'll plant 2 right next to each other. And because we'll be harvesting them often, will kind of manage their size a little bit to fit the space. Now you may see a little bit of wilting when you're first transplanting. That's perfectly normal. It's just kind of a little bit of shock to the plant for it to move. But after a couple days of sunlight and water, it'll perk up and just keep on growing. A few other of my favorite greens I love to grow in partial shade are arugula and endive. Now, arugula is probably a green that we have almost every day, and it is a cool weather green. So I'm going to kind of push the limit just a little bit here because it is getting warmer, but because it grows so fast and grows so quickly and easily from seed, most likely I'll still be able to get a harvest before the weather gets too hot. So you don't even need to grow arugula from transplants. Just sprinkle the seeds here in your garden bed, and you will literally have a crop of arugula in about 3 to 4 weeks when your temperatures are between 60 and I'd say 75 or 80 degrees. So it really does make for a perfect filler. It's a little bit lower growing of a plant than the mustard greens, the chard, and the kale. So I'm planting it in front of those taller plants so it doesn't get shaded out. Another one of my all-time favorite greens is endive. Such a delicious, hearty green, ruffled and absolutely beautiful. I love it. And it does tend to be a little bit more heat tolerant, even though it's technically a cool weather green. So I've got some growing in my raised bed right next to us, the little mini elevated raised bed that is just starting to kind of come to the end of its life. So this way I'm succession planting. That way I'm staggering my plantings and I'll get another harvest before the weather gets too hot for it. Another green that you can grow in partial shade is lettuce. Now we've got some gorgeous varieties here in this raised bed. You can see it's just starting to bolt. So it's one reason why I'm not going to plant it in my Smart Pots raised beds right now. It's getting just a little bit too hot for lettuce right now here in Southern California. But let me show you some over here where it's growing beautifully. It gets morning shade and then afternoon sun. So soon this lettuce will be bolting, but there's so many beautiful varieties of lettuce that you can plant. The oak leaf lettuce is one of my favorites. This is the red romaine. We've got some prize head right down here. And these all seeds, I have seeds for on my website. This is a gorgeous marvel of 4 seasons lettuce. So just go for it with the lettuce, especially if you live in like the Pacific Northwest or some of the northern climates where it doesn't get quite as hot during the summer. Lettuce is a great option for you to grow in a partial shade raised bed garden or in containers. We've got our thrillers. We've got everything filled in the middle with our mid-height plants. Now it's time for our spillers. And this is one of my favorite parts of growing in a partial shade garden because you can really maximize the space here. And for this, we're going to plant the strawberries we just pulled out of the chill zone raised bed. If you guys saw the video of us topping off that raised bed, but the spillers really just beautifully spill over the sides. So here I'm actually going to break apart a couple of plants so that we can give them a little bit of room to spread out, which will help us grow more strawberries. So we've got 2, maybe 3 different strawberry plants here. And your strawberry plants do often send out runners and will tend to get just a little bit crowded if you don't spread them out. So this is a perfect one to plant. And I'm going to plant it here right along the edge, but leave the crown uncovered because that's how they grow the best. They're not going to grow quite as well if you cover that crown. And I think we've got plenty here to plant as spillers all along our garden beds. So here's the crown. This brown part is called the crown, right where it meets the stem or the green part of the strawberry. And these especially, because they're just newly transplanted, probably will kind of look a little wilty for a couple of days, but they should perk up pretty quickly. Now, the reason why strawberries work so well in partial shade, especially in the summertime, is they really don't like very hot temperatures. They actually stop fruiting and flowering once it gets over 85 degrees. So they work perfect in a partial shade garden. Now here I'm just kind of pinching off some of the dead leaves, just kind of cleaning up the plant. And this actually has 2 strawberries in this bunch as well. So we'll split them apart. Don't be afraid to do this. Some great looking roots. And I'm popping them probably about 3 to 4 inches apart all along the garden bed. This one already has a few strawberries and you can see how beautiful it's going to look just kind of hanging over, and just wait until the strawberries really start producing. It's going to be very lovely. Another spiller herb that I love to grow in partial shade are chives. Now they are growing beautifully here in this garden bed. They only get about 4 hours of sunlight in the morning and that's it. And they grow here in the winter and in the summer. Now if you already have chives, no need to plant more seeds because you can actually divide some from another area of your garden or borrow some from a friend and then plant them in your partially shaded area. So here again, I'm just going to dig these up and then just lift them out of your garden bed. Now chives are pretty indestructible, so they can actually take a lot of transplanting and a lot of abuse. So even though you feel like you're really pulling them out of here, they're actually going to bounce back and grow very well. There we go. Whoa, look at all those chives. This is crazy. Now while I'm here, I also wanted to show you the other herbs that I've already mentioned in this video that are growing beautifully here in partial shade. We have parsley, cilantro in here just starting to come up. Oh, and we've got some scarlet runner beans here. So typically every summer they will grow up this trellis and I get a ton of beans from them in partial shade. Here we have some oregano, cilantro, some rosemary, which grows crazy, crazy here. This plant will get very big this summer. And then back in here, we have some sage. So many beautiful herbs that you can grow with just a few hours of sunlight a day. As we're coming down the hill, I want to make just a quick stop here at this kale. This is the lacinato variety of kale, really a pretty variety, one of my favorites. And it grows almost entirely in the shade here, only gets a few hours of sunlight a day. Now, kale can tend to get a little bit bitter and tough when you grow it in full sun and in the heat. So keeping it in a shaded area actually makes it a little bit sweeter and the branches and leaves less tough and more tender and more delicious for eating. Chives make great spillers because they don't get real tall and can easily fit in between my strawberries here. And they're so easy to transplant. You just break apart the clumps. See how many chives are here. I'll probably have enough to spill over both of these Smart Pots raised beds here. And then all you need to do is just poke a hole in the soil, pop the chives in, roots down, cover them up. They're going to flop over for a few days, but then the roots will establish and they'll stand up nice and straight and tall and they'll be absolutely gorgeous. Now you can plant a few chives together if you want to plant them in clumps. So I'm just going to go around my garden beds here and pop them in between the strawberries. Now since chives are a cool weather vegetable, oftentimes they will flower in the heat, but no worries if they do flower. The flowers are edible. They're amazing bee attractors. You can cut them off, put them in your salads, and you can still harvest the chives as well. And they're a perennial. So they'll come back next year and you can grow them again. And I have enough to plant in my other Smart Pots urban raised bed too. And by the way, I'll put links to all the seeds, what collections they're in, as well as for the Smart Pot urban raised bed, the trellises, all the supplies I use, I'll pop down in the video description. Before we plant our last spiller, I also wanted to point out that you can use other herbs as spillers too. I mean, look how nicely this oregano is kind of spilling over the 5-gallon. So you can put that in your raised beds, as well as thyme right around here. There's so many beautiful varieties of thyme. They're like trailing thymes, flowering thymes that really grow nicely as spillers. But the last spiller we're going to plant is one of my absolute all-time favorite flowers, and it's nasturtiums. Now I have nasturtiums growing all over my garden, and they grow beautifully over the stone walls there that you just saw while we were on the hill. They don't transplant very well. So while I have plenty of plants in the garden, I'm actually going to plant some from seed right now. And these seeds are in my Bring on the Pollinators Cool Season collection, but they grow so easily from seed. And because they're cool weather flowers, in the summertime, they grow better if they're growing in partial shade, and then you can still get blooms. Now, nasturtiums are edible, and the flowers are just stunning. These are the Tom Thumb nasturtium, so a more compact nasturtium, not quite as long of a trailing variety as you might have grown in the past. The leaves are edible in salads. The flowers are edible. We actually love putting the flowers on our garden fresh pizzas. It adds such a nice little zippy flavor. So I'll just pop some over here on this raised bed. I'm so excited for these vegetables to grow. If you guys have been following along with us, you know we redid this whole area, popped up the Smart Pots urban raised bed, filled them with soil, and finally we're planting. I'm so excited. The bumper crop raised bed soil has some great fertilizers in it, but I am going to add some fast-acting fish and guano fertilizer from Monterey. So our vegetables can take up these nutrients really quickly and start growing and then I can be harvesting sooner. So this has some great nitrogen in it, phosphorus for fruit and flower production. Just going to drench everything down, help the vegetables kind of settle into their new home here. And I'm not going to mulch at this point because without mulching, the soil temperature will warm up quicker here in the early spring and the vegetables will start growing faster. But as the weather warms up, I definitely will be mulching this area with some shredded straw mulch to help with water evaporation so the plants are more protected from the summer heat. So just drenching everything down and even feeding the leaves, watering the leaves for foliar feeding because the plants do take up nutrients very quickly from the leaves. Now you know you can grow vegetables in a partial shade garden with only 3 to 6 hours of sunlight a day if you grow the right vegetables. Now let me know which of these vegetables you're going to be planting in your partial shade garden. I can't wait to read your comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time in the garden.
We hope you enjoyed the transformation of the space from start to finish in one video.
We had so much fun with this project, and now comes the ultimate reward for all of our hard work, the harvest. It's only been 3 weeks since we planted this raised bed, and it's already bursting with veggies to harvest. So it really is fun to have you along with us here today. We've already got some strawberries that are ripening up that we're gonna pick and have today with our breakfast. I mean, Jerry, look at these. Aren't these just absolutely gorgeous?
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
It's crazy to think we're growing this in our own backyard. Nice and ripe, ready for the picking.
Never gets old.
It sure doesn't. Never gets old.
And it just tastes so good too.
Absolutely, it sure does. And it's very obvious that all the quality soil, fertilizer, the drip irrigation, everything is just working so well together, the smart pots in this raised bed, that I know we're going to get tons to harvest from it this summer.
There's another one. Hang on. Let me get that.
There's one
And
hiding.
Rolling.
Oh, it's just so much fun. They look red and ripe and juicy. We've got strawberries all around the edges. And here we're going to harvest some arugula to put in our eggs this morning. And arugula is such a fast-growing crop. This grew from seed to harvest in about 3 weeks. And this is a partial shade garden. So it's just amazing and so exciting to see all of this growth. Just going to harvest a little bit. This will kind of thin or serve as thinning it out too, so the arugula can keep on growing back. I think I'll grab little mustard greens here too while we're at it. The cucumbers will be ready probably in about a month or so. The kale, I cannot believe how big these leaves are. Maybe we'll have to make a smoothie for lunch, Jerry, and throw these in our smoothies. Ooh. So delicious and garden fresh. Would you look at that?
Yeah, sounds great.
And our chard. Wow. I don't know if I want a smoothie for lunch or a wrap for lunch in this chard. It's just so delicious.
Yeah, I will say too that we spend less money now going out to lunch because we just get it from our backyard.
From our garden grocery store. Now the Sun Gold tomatoes are doing beautifully. They've got little flowers on them already. I spy a little tiny tomato starting to develop right down here. So these are single stemmed, and I've actually been coming out and kind of shaking it to move the pollen around, and it's really working. The tomatoes are developing and growing just beautifully. So also in here, we've got some scarlet runner beans, which will bring in the hummingbirds and the bees. My little beans in here kind of got eaten by some bugs. So I sprinkled down Sluggo Plus from Monterey, and I'll be definitely planting some more on that. So you win some and you lose some with gardening. It's just the way it goes. But this basil, oh my gosh, it smells amazing. Can you smell it, Jerry, from behind the camera?
A little bit.
We're going to snip it and clip it. And the more you harvest this basil, the more it's going to grow and produce for us. This is the Prospera basil, but the Thai basil, even just running my hands over it.
Oh, yeah. I just got a whiff.
It's kind of a licoricey anise kind of flavor.
Yeah, that was neat.
Clip and pick. Our harvest basket is looking good. And in the front here, I planted some, I think they're called Scarlet Frills mustard greens. I planted them really close together because I kind of wanted to harvest them like microgreens. And these are a really nice quick crop that I wanted to fit in before the weather gets too hot. So I'll just kind of thin them out, and we are going to feast today on all of this beautiful garden fresh goodness. A few more little snips. I think we're good to go with our garden fresh harvest for our new raised beds. So much fun. So now here we are. The harvest brings us full circle, enjoying the fruits of our labors. Isn't that what gardening is all about? Now, up to this point, we've been calling this area the deck makeover, but it really does deserve a proper name.
Over on our main YouTube page under posts, we've been running a contest asking you to submit names for what you think we could call the space. You should be getting those notifications when we post a post. If you're not, go back to our main page, our main channel page, and make sure you have notifications set to on.
So without further ado, we want to introduce the brand new Garden Nook. And thanks to Harmony with Nature for winning the contest on that name. We're so excited,
Yes.
and we can't wait to enjoy our new Garden Nook with you more on future videos.
Yeah, it was very fitting. Kim and I both talked about it, and I just said, I really like the Garden Nook. And she said the same thing. I do too. I go, so there we have it.
It fits the space. It's nice and cozy with the potting bench. I have a feeling, Jerry, we're going to be hanging out here a lot this summer.
I like it down here.
Thanks for watching. See you next time in the Garden Nook.